I've just listened to Matt Fitzpatrick's interview on the high performance, and he talks about how he's recorded every shot he's made since he was 15-year-old. So he's doing his own stuff. He's now in a position where financially he could bring somebody in and tell them to do it. He takes ownership on his own development. I think that's a big thing for us, is that at the end of the day, it is their career. We are here to help, you get that career. We're here to help you, we'll manage you and we'll monitor you while you're away. But at the end of the day, it is your career. Harry Kane, somewhere down the line, he was Tottenham's #1 striker, but the loans he had at Leyton Orient, Millwall, Norwich, Leicester, he hardly played in some of them. He hardly scored any goals in some of them. Well, that's obviously got him in a mental preparation to be able to come back to Tottenham and fight his way. And when he was given that opportunity by Tim Sherwood, he grasped it. So it's managing the players' expectations as well. So it's trying to keep them in the here and now. Because if you start to look too far ahead and start to deviate from the path that you're on, then that could lead to the slippery slope.
Hi everyone, it's David Charlton here, and welcome back to the podcast. Today we're celebrating a special milestone, episode 300, and 5.5 years of consistent content. It's been a journey, a long one, which has tested my own mental toughness on occasions, and I'm pleased to say that there's going to be many more episodes to follow, largely down to you, the listener or the viewer, who continues to amaze me with your kind feedback. This week, I'm delighted to be joined once again by someone who brings honesty, experience, and a real insight into the development of young footballers. Newcastle United's assistant loans manager and former professional defender, Peter Ramage. In this conversation, the second part, Peter lifts the lid on what truly shapes a young player's journey, far beyond minutes played or goals scored. We dive into personal responsibility, dealing with setbacks, staying grounded when things go well, and why loan spells are often misunderstood by players, parents, and coaches. Peter shares brilliant stories from his own career, as well as the work he does day to day by supporting young players as they step into the demands of senior football. Whether you're a player, a parent, or a coach, you'll take away practical lessons on resilience, communication, and owning your own development. It's a great listen. A lot of these players are going to be late teens, early 20s, and at that age, some will struggle to take personal responsibility, won't they? And they'll be hoping other people are going to do it for them. But then, if you look across all the top athletes in various different sports, they take ownership, don't they? Personal responsibility, it's key.
Yeah. I've just listened to Matt Fitzpatrick's interview on the high performance, and he talks about how he's recorded every shot he's made since he was 15-year-old. So he's doing his own stuff. He's now in a position where financially he could just bring somebody in and just tell them to do it. What club did I hit in the Sawgrass last season or whatever? Yeah, I can get. He takes ownership on his own performance. He takes ownership on his own development. I think that's a big thing for us, is that at the end of the day, it is their career. We are here to help, you get that career. We're here to help you, we'll manage you and we'll monitor you while you're away. But at the end of the day, it is your career. At some point, you will leave our football club, whether that be at 18, 28, 38, whatever it is. Our responsibility is to try and give you everything to be able to be at that higher end at 38 and still playing football. So, by doing that, you need to take ownership on that as well. We can't give you everything. And sometimes, with the loans, we actually just leave them alone. We don't even bother, because part of that is actually growing up and learning how to deal with adversity without any help, which is a challenge for us, because we want to help. This is our roles, this is our responsibilities, is to help you. But part of it is actually just taking a step back and managing it, monitoring it from a distance, making sure that they are okay, but actually leaving them to try and find their way through the dark times themselves.
I guess it's a bit like a parent's role in that way, isn't it? Where as they get older, you release a little bit of responsibility, give them more independence, and so on.
Yeah. Do you know what it is, Dave? Some of the challenges is actually is like the parents. We have to deal with players' agents. We have to deal with parents. They're asking questions, why we're not doing this or why we're doing that. And right, there is a process behind what we're doing. There is a reason of the why. You only ever hear from them when they're not doing well, which is is always the case. But it's a big piece of work that we're trying to do at this moment in time is change the perception of that failure, so to speak, and why a player's not playing. Oh, this is a failed loan. Well, no, Harry Kane went on 5 loans as a football player. He's now England's top goal scorer. Do you mind trying to say to us that every single loan there didn't have some sort of impact, and there wasn't something within it that helped him get to being England's #1 striker?
Yeah, no, that's a fair point. That one is, yeah. I mean, what is success? If you're a striker, you probably, some people will just go in with the expectation, right? I expect to play most games and bang in a whole lot of goals, but yeah, the reality might be trying to force your way into the starting team and score a handful of goals is success.
Yeah, listen, we'll judge. Ultimately, the end game is for them to play as many minutes as they possibly can. I'm not sitting here trying to hide away from that fact, but what we've got to try and understand is, what is their role when they go out there? Okay, right, you've got to try and play as many minutes as you possibly can. But success isn't just solely down to playing minutes, because it might be actually the reason that you're going on loan is you have to compete, because you played every minute in the under-21s. Actually, no, success is you not playing, but then maybe 3 months down the line, finding your way into the team. So, over the course of the season, you might have only made, a dozen appearances, but there's been 36 games. But actually, the dozen appearances have come at the end of the loan. So when you want to look at like the minutes doesn't look great. But no, the purpose of you going on loan was to actually, you had to learn to fight to get into a team. So you had to go through that period of not playing. You had to go through that period of actually earning your stripes to get the shirt. Now the success is at the end, because you've played 12 games and you've got two clean sheets, 3 goals, whatever. No, the success is that you've actually got through that and you've played 12 games at the end of the season. The success might be Harry Kane, somewhere down the line. He's now England's or Tottenham. He was Tottenham's #1 striker, but the loans he had at Leyton Orient, Millwall, Norwich, Leicester, he hardly played in some of them. He hardly scored any goals in some of them. Well, that's obviously got him in a mental preparation to be able to come back to Tottenham and fight his way. And when he was given that opportunity by Tim Sherwood, he grasped it, because he knew what it was like to not play at them loan clubs. Right? Okay, well then the loans were a success, weren't they? Because he's now understood that he's got it when that chance comes in the Tottenham's first team. That yeah, okay, I'm going to grasp this, because I don't want to be feeling like I felt at Leicester, or I felt at Norwich, or I felt at at Leyton Orient, whatever it is. I know some of them were successes within that, but the purpose of the loan has actually served the purpose somewhere down the line, where he's Tottenham's top goal scorer and he's England's #1 striker.
So in some ways, to get to that point, you've got to break it down to the little processes, isn't it? The small, tiny little things that you can do to impress the coach, so you can actually get a game. Which again will come back to the controllables, your attitude in training, whether you're tracking back, pressing, your movement, asking for the ball, all those sort of things.
Yeah, and we'll have regular contact with clubs, so you'll get the player's perspective from it, which is, the manager just is not picking me. I'm training me, I'm training my socks off. I'm doing really well, but he just doesn't keep picking me. You can get the manager's input, and he could be like, right, I just need him to, be able to do this or be able to do that. Right, okay, right. Well, we'll feed that back. I mean, we're talking as if all loans are kind of negative, but there's other ones where it's like, right, he's doing really well at this, and you just right, you got to keep doing this. He said, but don't rest on your laurels. Things are going really well. You're getting really good attention. Right, okay, now what's the next part? So you've got through this first part, right? Okay, now let's set you a challenge for the next part. Now you've got to play for the next 4 games. Do not concede a goal, or do not miss the target with your shot. So your shot rate's got to be over 70%. So it's like trying to give players processes to be able to navigate through the tough times. But actually, when things are going really well, to make sure that they've got that focus and that process to be able to stay in that zone and be able to stay in the team and be able to stay, in where they're at, to be able to, hopefully help them go down the.
Yeah, you got a point. Let's keep this positive.
I mean, that's the thing. It's like, I think most bit of work that we've been done, a large portion of loans are perceived to be failures, and particularly for young players. And I think it's us trying to navigate that, because I think there is a lot of good work that's done both internally with us, with other clubs, with other loan clubs, with other clubs who have loans departments like us. It's just trying to find that niche of what is a successful loan. But then, yeah, like when it is going well, like, come on, let's celebrate this and let's utilize, the learnings from that.
So if we're going to continue on this more positive track for the next 5 minutes, then when you see players like thrive on loan and do really, really well, you've touched on a few little things that they're likely to do. What other things do you maybe notice?
You notice that there's, the general interest in them grows, and invariably that comes through the agents as well. But, you'll have a player on loan at a club and he's doing really, really well. Now the agent's ringing you up saying, listen, I've got X, Y, and Z from higher leagues or different countries that are really interested. And the biggest question is, what's the pathway? The pathway is our club and try and get in the first team. That's why you sign a contract. Why are you trying to then talk about them going somewhere else? Why aren't you trying to tell them to come, and fight their way into our first team? But then it's managing that player, and then obviously the players' expectations as well. So it's trying to keep them in the here and now. Because if you start to look too far ahead and start to deviate from the path that you're on, then that could lead to the slippery slope. And again, it's some of the wonderful work that Charlie's doing with the players and also Colin and Kyle from the medical and the sports science side of things to be able to keep the boys fit, keep them physically right, and then obviously myself and Shoals trying to keep them in the right football wise to be able to stay on that trajectory, and then what comes down the line we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. It's tough because young players, like you touched on at the start of it, they'll read social media and they'll see all the media reports and the articles that are written about them and the comments that are made, and they'll start to believe in all the hype, and it's trying to keep them level-headed and make sure that we don't let them go off course.
So I think overall what you're saying there is staying grounded, stay level-headed, focus on the present moment, don't get too far ahead of yourself, and yeah, you won't go too far wrong, essentially.
Yeah, it's easier said than done. For young players in particular, we've got some senior players that are out in football, out and playing football and on loan, and they're a dream because they've been there, they've done it, they've lived it, and they understand, what is expected of them. They don't need any guidance on this. Again, sometimes it's utilizing their experiences to be able to, speak to the players, the younger players that go out on loan and give them some advice on how to deal with some of these situations. It's been great. We got the young goalie out in Coleraine, Aidan Harris, and Aaron Ramsdale sat and had a 15, 20 minutes with him before he went out on loan and just gave him that little bit of insight as to what he's going to face. And that was invaluable. Me and Scholes were old washed-up ex-footballers now. Sometimes what we say is just in one ear and out the other. The players want to hear from the current peers. But that's great for us that we've got, full of players that have gone through and lived the experiences that these lads are about to embark on. And, we'll try and utilise them as well to be able to help the players.
I remember the first podcast we did like many moons ago. One of the things that you touched on then, you were talking about your own career and injuries and how tapping into support and like talking was really, really powerful. And I guess I'm hearing exactly the same there, like in a different sense for these players that are out on loan, as well as making sure that you're talking to people and you're picking people's brains and so on.
Yeah, I think again I'll go back to, like I said at the start of this interview, is that I think the biggest qualification we have is that we've lived what you're going through, both the highs and the lows. I know if you're feeling low, why you're feeling low. I've been there myself. I've had some dark times in my career through injuries, loss of form, not playing. I've also had some of the highs that I've still got pictures on my wall of when we lifted the trophy at Wembley with Crystal Palace. I was part of the QPR squad that got promoted to the Premier League, but part of that euphoria was the fact that I'd missed the whole season being injured. So I had the highs of standing there with the trophy, but the low of actually not feeling worthy enough to be able to lift it because I hadn't contributed. The other way about Crystal Palace, I played 90% of the games throughout the course of the season, but then I didn't play in the final. They were promoted and I didn't feel worthy enough. But then, people telling me, and quite rightly so, that, I've contributed a large part to being there. So I've lived it, understand what the players are going through, and it's an invaluable tool for us to be able to help these players before they go out on loan, and then while they're out on loan to be able to say, listen, like, if you do need somebody to chat to, call us. And I've taken phone calls in the middle of the night from players, taken phone calls at the the beginning of the day because, they're not playing, or the manager said this, or they're falling out with a girlfriend, or they've had an argument with their mum and dad, or, their car's broke. Like, we're literally, like you said at the start of it, your mum and dad and auntie and uncle and brother and sister to these players. But we are there 24/7. And we can also start to pick up signs as well when we feel that the players might just start to be, or there might be something coming down the road or the path that we think, yeah, we're going to need to check in with them. So then it might be us just going for down to watch a game and then catching them the night before for a coffee or something to eat, and just kind of preempting maybe something or just showing our face. And I think it's key for the players to know that they do have us. But also, in the same breath, some of these young players that have got their own people, they've got their own psychologists, they've got their own people to talk to. So we do not have an issue one bit with them players utilising them resources that they have available to them and not us, as long as they are, like you said at the start of it, speaking to somebody.
Yeah. The key is for them players really is understanding that, throw your ego to one side and, just speaking to someone, be it a friend, a relative, a professional, that's the important thing. It's not a weakness ultimately.
No, I think it's a weakness not talking. I think the biggest strength in a person is being able to speak when you need to speak to somebody. But it's, that the courage to be able to pick up the phone and just say, I've got an issue with this. Or I'm doing really well. I need to keep my feet on the ground. So it's the same when players are having all the success that, right, okay, what do I need to do to be able to stay on the top here? I don't want to go down that. I want to stay in the team. What do I need to do to stay in the team? It can work both ways in that.
Yeah, no, that's right. Yeah, because a different set of eyes and ears, they can just help challenge you, can't you, to take it to the next level ultimately. So, how are you going to summarize this in 3 little takeaways for the audience?
When you put that through, it'll be a challenge. I think 3 takeaways is that you got to live in the moment as a player and understand, what you're about to embark on, and then embrace the challenge and be ready for the tough times, because you go through them. And the good times in football, as everybody knows, is, lifting trophies and playing games, scoring goals, keeping clean sheets. It's a wonderful feeling, because football's a short career. You've got a hell of a lot of your life potentially after football to live. So enjoy that moment, enjoy the challenge that's about to go ahead, but also, so I think what was just said there, is people around to help navigate your way through that period of your career.
Most definitely. No, that's fantastic. As always, thanks for your time and your insights there. It's been great. So thank you.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
No worries. Thanks again for tuning in to today's episode of the Demystifying Mental Toughness podcast. And a huge thank you to Peter Ramage for sharing such honest and insightful reflections on supporting young footballers. What really stood out in our discussion for me was just how deeply Peter's approach aligned with Peter Clough's 4 C's model of mental toughness. We talked about control, helping young players develop personal responsibility, emotional regulation, and the confidence to take ownership of their development. Peter highlighted that the most successful athletes don't wait for someone else to solve their problems. They remain calm, they step forward, they ask questions, and they open up when things feel really tough, actively shaping their own journey. We also explored commitment, the ability to stay focused and stick to the process, whether it's battling for a place on loan or managing the excitement when things go well. Peter reminded us that the consistency of effort, attitude, and behaviour is what separates those who progress from those who stall. Then there's challenge, seeing setbacks, limited minutes, or tough loan spells not as threats, but as opportunities to grow. Peter's stories really brought this to life. The toughest experiences often become the most valuable learning moments, especially for young players stepping into senior football. And then finally, we've got confidence in ability and interpersonal confidence. We heard how peer mentoring, honest communication, and the courage to speak up all help young players trust themselves more and then navigate the emotional ups and downs of performance. So, as you reflect on today's episode, I'll leave you with one powerful question. When the next challenge comes your way, whether you're a player, a coach, or a parent, will you meet it with avoidance or will you meet it with ownership? And on the subject of ownership, to help me remain consistent in producing new and quality content, I'm going to be true to myself and my own values. I'll be taking a break from the podcast for 5 weeks to take care of some exciting developments in my own work and business, as well as enjoying some downtime with my family and friends, and celebrating some successes too that have been achieved this year. And naturally enjoying the festive period. So come 2026, you're going to expect to re-energize me and some great guests and different ideas on the podcast. Then on the 2nd of January, this is when you'll hear more from me. Exciting times ahead is all I can say for now. So a big thanks for listening. If you found this episode helpful, please do share it with someone who might benefit. And I hope you go on to enjoy the festive season too. And although it feels a little bit crazy saying this right now, I sincerely hope that 2026 is a great year for you. Take care. If you enjoyed this episode of the Demystifying Mental Toughness podcast with David Charlton, do check out my website, sport-excellence.co.uk, and my online sports psychology resources. The Sport-Excellence website has essential resources for anyone looking to build their own mental toughness or the mental toughness of their athletes or teams, or if you want to achieve peak performance more often or optimal functioning. The Sport Excellence website has everything you need to keep moving forward and thrive. So go on, head over to sport-excellence.co.uk to find out more.